record on this computer. All right, so I'm going to go live now.
Cool. Tell me when.
Will do. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for your patience. It seems Scotland is a problem with connectivity. I think the little wire that goes between myself and Craig Dutton is a bit full. So what we're doing is we're slotting in Mark Mansfield, who is a fantastic aviation photographer. And I think you're going to be amazed at some of his images. I've known Mark for not as long as I've known the other presenters so far, but I've seen him at some of the air shows, and we've done one or two things together. And it's just a fantastic guy, and you know, I think he's going to be an awesome presenter. So, Mark, it's over to you, mate. Good luck.
Fantastic, Quentin. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Always happy to talk about aviation. It is purely, well, I'm a self-confessed av geek and aviation freak. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and I hope I can take everybody on a quick journey into my side of the world, or what I do.
I think it'll be amazing. Can't wait.
Cool. Well, first of all, good afternoon to everybody, and I hope everybody is spirits aren't too dampened with the lockdown, but the only nice thing about it is we're all in it together, so it's not saying you doing something that I'm not. But anyway, for those that tuned in on Monday and listened to Roger Mason's presentation, he did a lot on, he did a section on air show photography. So I decided I wasn't going to do anything to do with air shows because it's already been discussed. And I mean, you're getting it straight from one of the top guys' mouth as to what you can, can't do, and all the ins and outs. So I thought I'd share with everybody my passion, or the real fun stuff that I get to do. I'm very privileged to do this, and that's air-to-air photography. And what air-to-air photography is for those that don't know, it's a case of me flying in an aircraft next to another aircraft and capturing images like you see here on the screen. It is very rewarding. It is highly risky.
But we should just say, Mark, we should just say that you are not flying the plane that you are shooting from. We just need to make sure health and safety. Yeah. We just need to say, don't fly this alone.
And yes, now I've got a few friends of the regulator, the civil aviation regulator, that could be tuning in. So yes, it's all done above board. I wish I could fly and photograph at the same time, but that would be quite miraculous. But no, I'm not. And it's not as easy as what everybody thinks it is. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's a lot of safety that has to be taken into account. There's a lot of briefings. It's not a case of just jump in and go and then go fly around the patch. For example, this particular photograph that you see of the British Airways A380 over Table Mountain, that took 3 months to plan. And the planning was done in simulators, both here in South Africa and in London. There was a lot of permission required from not only the Air Force, not only Cape Town, but of the Table Mountain, all the municipalities concerned. And it took a bit of time to get this right. I mean, this aircraft wasn't based at Cape Town. It actually flew from Durban on the day, and it met us over Robben Island, and we got airborne out of Cape Town International, and then off we went. So there's a lot of planning in there, and things can go wrong. And you'll see towards the end of the presentation, I'll just show you some of the 1 or 2 clips as to what happens. You know, everybody asks me, what's it like doing this? And I would love to come along and do this. So once I actually show them what it's about, out of all those queries that I get, 90% of them all fall off the wayside because they realize the door's off the aeroplane. You've got no seats in the aircraft. You're sitting on the floor, and there's a bit of a rush to it. But yeah, that's one of those passions and something I love. Well, moving along, what I do enjoy is when I get to do this, I always look for something unique. I always try to capture different things when I go to air, and I'm always looking for the uniqueness. I'm considering what's in the background. It's very important that the aircraft is not distracted with something in the background, with either a rubbish dump or a road running between the one wing and the other wing, and a car or anything. And also I'm looking for moments like this, where this particular photograph was taken in Botswana over one of the pans, and it was leading up to an air race, and it was just quite appropriate having this particular Harvard chasing its own shadow. What I also didn't mention was 90% of all the air-to-air work that I do is all client related. They either want it for brochures, for marketing, or for promotional use. So there's always a reason for it, and I'm always trying to capture something unique for it, for the clients, and to make these images stand out, something that's, wow, you know, I want people to come back and look twice and stare at it and hopefully evoke a bit of emotion and start as a talking point. I also love looking for weird and wonderful backgrounds. For example, this one over here, that is salt water. It's the brine in the water, or it's a salt pan, and that's the brine. I never knew that until somebody said to me afterwards, but it was just such a striking background, something I've never photographed before. Going on to the uniqueness, I always like to see things from a different point of view. Going back a slide, that's pretty much a stock standard conventional air-to-air shoot. I'm a little bit higher than the subject aircraft. As you can see, I'm pointing down, I'm shooting down. I don't really like pointing up into the sky because the blue sky is very boring unless it's got cloud in it. And sometimes I just like looking at things from a total different point of view. Here, I'm sitting just below 9,000 feet, and I'm photographing this aerobatic aircraft flown by Nigel Hopkins, who's South Africa's top aerobatic pilot, over one of the pans in Botswana. What I also do enjoy is I love sunrise, sunset. Now I know if I'm shooting in the studio, I've got controlled lighting. Here out in air-to-air, I've got no control over what the light's doing. I have to time it. I've got very small windows in doing that. Obviously, because either the sun's rising and this golden light that you'll see now, I lose it. Or in the evening, I've only got about 30, 40 minutes of useful time in the air before the sun disappears. But that's what I get, and that's just what I love doing. And you'll see a lot of my photographs now that I have, not a lot, the few that I've put in here, I've either done them late afternoon or first thing in the morning. And it just gives you these most breathtaking photographs. And yet again, looking at the background, looking where the aircraft are in relationship to the background and trying to capture these moments. And of course, more uniqueness, something you don't get to see every day. And it's something quite spectacular when you get to photograph this. Sometimes I find it quite unreal that I actually have to stop for a moment and say, geez, I'm actually doing this. Because it's not every person who gets to fly in a helicopter low level with 4 Harvards water skiing across a mass of water.
Mark, when I first saw this, I can't remember when it was. I saw it about a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it's been up for longer than that. But when I first saw this, I was kind of gobsmacked. Why on earth would you want to do something like that? A little wave catches that tire and poof, you're face down in the water. You know, I mean, it seems as though it's that dangerous. Is it that dangerous?
Okay, so from what they're doing, yes, it is. You know, aviation is inherently very risky and is dangerous. But as pilots, taught to manage the risk and the situations, and are obviously come up with, you get brought up in a safety culture, and everything you do is about safety. And if I do this, what will happen? So it's a case of, I make this decision, how's it going to impact everything else? So yes, most definitely, it is dangerous. There's a risk to it. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong. Those engines can stop. That wheel can bounce. There can be a wave on that water. I mean, you know that we say water's like a sheet of glass. No, it's not. It's actually quite bumpy. And if you track down a few of the people who are in the back of the Harvards as passengers, they will tell you it was quite a bit of a bumpy ride. So yes, saying that, it's also not just a case of after a few beers, let's jump in and go try this. This takes a bit of planning, and this takes a bit of consideration. This wasn't also done spur of the moment. There's a lot of permission that goes into this. This particular photograph was taken in Botswana on the pan. Now, even though it's supposed to be a salt pan dry, this was taken, I think, last year or the year before, and the pan was very wet. So the permission was granted by the Botswana Civil Aviation Authority and the organizers and everybody. So as I said, it wasn't a spur of the moment thing, but yes, there are risks involved. In terms of me flying along in a helicopter a few feet away from this is in itself was also exceptionally dangerous, but we do we do consider all the risks, and there's a whole lot of, as I said in the beginning, there's a lot of safety briefings to it. Right, it's just as the sun has disappeared, just that all to do with timing. Now, when it comes to timing, it's also very critical, because now I've got to worry about the lights. I've got to watch what the light's doing. I've got to see what the background's doing, and also got to time it, because I can't exactly say to these guys, sorry, I missed that. Let's go back and do it again. The
Why not?
costs are exorbitant. Well,
Yeah,
I sometimes am tempted, Quentin, to say to the guys, geez, I missed that. Can we do it again? But when it's a commercial shoot, or when it's somebody when we set this up, there are costs involved. You know, flying is it's not cheap. I've got 4 aircraft in the air, plus my own aircraft in this particular case, plus all the pilots, plus the pilot flying me. So there's a lot of costs. That's the time in the air. And this doesn't just happen, we're going to go do this. This might have been the second attempt at it, or we might have had to do it 1 or 2 fly paths just to get the timing right and the position right. Things change in the air, and we've got to be very dynamic with it, and we've got to work with it. There's wind, there's reflections coming off the canopies if I'm in a closed canopy. There is glare. There could also be problems with the background that are something I'm not happy with. And also maybe these guys don't feel right. Their timing is not off. But yet again, working with a bunch of professionals, it does make my life super easy. In fact, I've got the easiest job. I just have to sit, push a little black button, and I get that. Sometimes nice up in your faces also works very well. Yet again, late afternoon, just love the sun on this. I am looking for reflections. I don't want to see my reflection in the aircraft. I don't particularly want to see people waving at me with little cameras or cell phones. So in the briefing, before we go do this, there's a little bit of rules and say, guys, please don't do that. Please don't do this. And then of course, late afternoon.
Sorry, Mark, just go back there. What's your shutter speed there? Obviously, it's to get that full prop rotation. What's your shutter speed there?
Okay, so what I'm shooting at, it varies from aircraft to aircraft, but I'm shooting anything from 60th of a second or less. Handheld, I'm not leaning against the door of the aircraft. At the end of the presentation, you'll see a few photographs of what it actually, from what you see from my point of view, or what I'm doing, or where I'm sitting to try to get that. So on the camera side of things, I use a Canon 1DX. I use a 24-105mm lens. Now, I think it was yesterday on the lockdown group, there was a post to share your kit, lay flat picture of your photo kit. I didn't do that because it's just going to be one camera and one lens, if you think about it. So it would have been a very boring picture. But that's all I take up with me, and that's all I need. I don't take any other sort of device. In other words, a lot of people say to me, but how do you get the photos so still or so steady, or there's no camera shake? It does happen. I don't lean against the side of the aircraft or the frame of the aircraft. I kind of keep myself away from that. I also don't go put the lens out into the airflow, because at this speed, depending on once again the aircraft we flying, we're hurling around the skies at about 200 kilometers an hour, and that wind flow was just going to knock the lens back, and I'm going to have a lot of problems, or the buffeting on the lens, and I do get a lot of camera shake. Please just understand something. This is not one click, one shot wonder. There's a whole lot of photographs in this, and you seeing the best of the pick that I'm giving to you or the client. But there's a whole lot of missed opportunities. There are mistakes. I do make mistakes. I've got plenty, just pictures of a tail, pictures of a nose. Those things do happen quite often. And it just comes with experience. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years at it. Just going into the uniqueness. This is reflections of the clouds in the water below. Late afternoon, sun just about to set as well. So I'm always looking for these moments that make people go, wow, that's quite cool. That's quite spectacular. Back on, sorry, let me just push the buttons here. There we go. Late afternoon, once again, uniqueness. 3 different aircraft. Well, I've got 2 different, I know you've seen 4 aircraft there, but there's a Cessna Caravan, and then there's the 3 VTOL Bonanzas, which is very rare. You don't get to put these sort of airplane or these aircraft combinations up, and when the opportunity does arise, I tell you what, I'm in that helicopter, in that aircraft with my camera, and we fire away and have a lot of fun doing it. And of course, something a bit different as well. Once again, first thing in the morning, beautiful golden light. I just love that light. So it just pops. And flying along, just happened to see the moon there, and thinking, perfect. It's not every day you get to see the moon and have the sun at the same time. And then just, you'll notice a lot of the photographs are always going from right to left. And that's just because of the aircraft that I use, or the chase aircraft, depends which side of the aircraft I can take the door off. Most pilots sit and fly from the left-hand seat of an aircraft. So I'm sitting on the right-hand side. So I need to have the door off on my side of the aircraft, sitting on the floor. And it's every now and again, I do get to fly an aircraft where I can actually photograph going from left to right, which makes a bit of a difference. Also, a lot of the aircraft that you see are all unique. It's not as if there are hundreds. And this particular aircraft, this GT, is only one of them in South Africa. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and please, for all the purists out there, don't go shoot me or send me a whole lot of WhatsApps. I think this is the only one in the world that's currently airworthy. There is another one in the States, but I'm not too sure if it's airworthy. But yet again, please don't go shoot the messenger. Talking about unique aircraft and unique backgrounds, this was an opportunity. This particular aircraft, it's called a Bosbok, was used in the South African Air Force. This particular one had a lot of history to it. It was fitted with a whole lot of air pods. It was armed in the Bush War, and they had refurbished it and they had rebuilt it back to its original spec that it was, except now you didn't have any of the armor or the weapons on it. And in the background there's Swartkrop Air Force Base, which itself is a historical Air Force base. And this year we celebrate 100 years of aviation in South Africa, and also our Air Force is 100 years old. Once again, please don't shoot me thinking, oh no, our Air Force is not 100 years old. It is, and even the Chief of the Air Force admitted such. Unfortunately, a lot of our events this year have been cancelled due to the coronavirus. So, but we'll still definitely celebrate 100 years. And then on to more uniqueness. Yo,
I've got a question here from Anton Krohn. What type of aircraft do you fly in? I mean, obviously, sometimes it'll be helicopters, other times it'll be fixed wing, I assume. So what is the general craft that you fly in? Okay,
so to answer that question, I use all sorts of aircraft. I go from a 4-seat aircraft, a Cessna 172. I fly, a Cessna 182, it's a Cessna 210, a Baron 55, Baron 58, sometimes in a jet, and then of course into helicopters. The photograph you saw of the British Airways A380 that I flew in a jet, at the end of the presentation, there's a picture of that particular aircraft. So it all depends on what aircraft I need to photograph, what speed I need to fly at, because certain aircraft, if you fly them, just in layman's terms, and this is really not the best way to say this, but if I am flying, for example, let me just quickly go back a slide, Joe, if you don't mind. So if I fly in that King Air, I can't expect that King Air to fly at 50 knots. It's going to fall out the sky. So I have to have an aircraft that can keep up with that. So I would fly in a Baron, which can maintain its minimum speed. So if this King Air was comfortable, if the pilot says they're comfortable flying that aircraft at 110 knots, which is equivalent to about 220 kilometers, give or take, I need to also maintain about 200 kilometers, and I need an aircraft appropriate for that speed. So it varies from aircraft to aircraft. This particular aircraft is an Antonov. It practically crawls along in the air. That I shot out of a helicopter. I don't need anything fast with it. Helicopter here, I'll just use another helicopter as well, which is convenient because helicopters, we can actually pause in flight. You say, oh, stop there, hover, turn left, turn right, which is great.
Yeah, move a little bit to the left, hold it there,
exactly.
smile.
Yeah. Now, if you think about it, most of the times I'm going around in a circle, in a gentle orbit. And I've only got a small little window in which to shoot from because I've got to now worry what the sun's doing. But now with a helicopter, I can just position them and say a little bit forward, a little bit up, a little bit down, stop. Click, 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 click. Okay, thank you very much. Along with the aircraft, if we go around and miss it, I have to do it again until I get that particular shot. So at the end of this, the photo sortie, I could have gone around a good few times getting just what the client wants and getting that sweet image that I get. I hope that answered his question. I can't see their reply. So
yeah, no, it's all good.
Cool. So going back to the uniqueness, here's the Union buildings. I think as a South African, we all know what that represents. That airspace over there is actually restricted. You're not allowed to fly over the Union buildings. So to get this photo shoot up in place, we had to get permission from the regulator, we had to get permission from the municipalities and the Air Force and all sorts of things. So it wasn't a case of just getting in there and flying along and go click, click, snap, snap. if we fly in this airspace, being restricted, they can actually, when we land, lock us up. That's how serious it is. Right. I was very privileged late last year to go do a bit of mountain climbing. So I was very fortunate to go on tour with Bell Helicopters, and they wanted photographs of their Bell 429 against the two highest mountains in Africa. And this was Mount Kenya that you've seen over here. And the uniqueness about this photograph is, I know you see a very small little helicopter there on the right, but here we're sitting at the top of Mount Kenya, and there's a little lake. I don't know if you can see at the bottom of the image there, there's actually a lake there. And what these guys do is they take people up there for fishing, which I found quite unique. And the landscape's quite unique because if you look at where Mount Kenya sits, you know, you start flying and you've got this beautiful forest, thick forest, and as you go up to about a few thousand feet, that forest changes into this arid environment, and just going past that, you get the snow part. So it's quite unique flying up there. And I found that quite amazing, having a look at as we went up this mountain. This was also the first time that I've ever been so high in a helicopter without, with the door off and with no oxygen. And for those that don't know, if you do fly in commercial aircraft, the cabin is pressurized so we can breathe normally. Up at 10,000 feet, we don't have enough pressure. There's not enough pressure to go into our lungs. You have to use supplementary oxygen. So normally, I don't fly this high, and helicopters don't. Helicopters fly treetop height. So when we did this particular safety briefing, it was quite interesting because when we went through it, the guy says, well, if you feel tingling in your fingers, or if your lips start turning blue, or if you feel dizzy, we've got a problem. So the entire way up to the top of this mountain, I kept looking at my fingers and thinking, geez, am I going to suffer from hypoxia? So it was a bit of a weird shoot. But yeah, all very nice and well. And then from...
I really like the way that you managed to get them to match the colors of the helicopter with your branding.
Yeah, that was, I really had to ask them nicely to repaint it for me, but thanks, Quentin, for noticing that. And of course, from there, we hopped across to Kilimanjaro, and this we were sitting at, that was the highest I was, on 10,000 feet, door off. Quite a unique experience, and we had such a small window of opportunity to get this. As you can see, that we're on top of the clouds. We got there the night before, the day before, I should say, and we were planning to do the shoot in the morning, then the afternoon, and then we were leaving the following day, and the weather just didn't want to cooperate. And even on the morning of the shoots, looking out the bedroom window where I was staying, you couldn't see this Kilimanjaro. I actually didn't see it for the 3 days while I was there until at the shoot. And the pilot, the local guy, said, we're going now. And you go, we can't be photographing in this. It's completely overcast. I can't even see this mountain. Does it even exist? And by the time we got airborne, it took us 17 minutes to fly to the top there. And as we went around on the eastern side of the mountain, it just cleared up and gave us a beautiful opportunity to photograph Kilimanjaro with the helicopter, with the Bell 429 in the foreground of the helicopter. So yeah, I must say, get to travel the world, very privileged, as I said, get to go all around the world doing two favorite things, flying and photographing, and I combined the two, and this is the result that I get. And then came back from that, going once again, as I said, everything that I do is there's a uniqueness to us, a uniqueness to it. And that's what I enjoy, because every assignment is something different. I might have photographed a helicopter 100 times, might have photographed an airplane 100 times, but it's the locations and it's the places. This was taken in Jordan, and I do honestly forget which castle it was. It was one of the famous ruins over there. We were flying all around Jordan, spent a week there, and they asked me to photograph this particular Bell 505 at every one of their heritage sites, and that included the Dead Sea, included Wadi Rum, and all over the show. Truly amazing experience from it. This might seem a little bit weird, or might seem a bit out of the, or not ordinary, might seem a bit bland. This was taken in Jordan in Wadi Rum. We're about, it's difficult to see from the photograph here, but we're about 50 feet off the ground, and we're flying through this, how do I call it? Through these, we were weaving in and out of these rock faces in a place called Wadi Rum, which is truly spectacular. There's no ways, out of all the photographs of this Wadi Rum, you can't capture its beauty. It's It's so unique, and I've done a lot of photo shoots out there because of its uniqueness and how beautiful it looks. Cool, right, pushing on. Let me go through some of these. Let me speed up a bit. These are all just in types of aircraft that I photograph, and I've been privileged to photograph, that I enjoy photographing. As I say, pure av geek, got an absolute thrill in doing it. Once again, yeah, not every day you get a combination like that with these two aircraft, and when opportunity arises, hey, I'm the first one with my hand up and the second one leaning out the door, trying to capture that.
Looks like they're playing silly buggers there.
It is, you know, it's well, what I do is I've got an idea in my head, and this is what I want from the photo shoot. So I listen to what the client wants, I listen to how they want to do it, and I go, okay, cool, we're not going to do that, we're going to do it my way, and hopefully I get what they want. And then we sit and say, this is what I would like to do, and hopefully I can pull it off. Once again, it's not only Harvards that can water ski, but also
another one of those crazy shots. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's insaneness. I mean, just to think, that's the world's biggest single-engine biplane. So Antonov, and that's busy bouncing across the water. And here you can see all that water that it's actually pulling up off the water from its wheels. So yeah, you just need that wheel to hook in or have a little bump, and that nose is going in. So please, high risky. Everybody says, they want to go do this. I wanted to come along. I want to do it. Guys, please, there's a lot of safety to it. There's a lot to do it. But, you know, you've got to be very careful. It is high risk, and it takes a lot of planning. And also, it's a trust thing. I've got to trust my pilot that he's not going to turn this aircraft upside down. I'll fall out the bloody thing. Because everybody says, am I going to fall out the aeroplane? No, but yes, it can happen. And then
so just back on that one, Mark. Whenever photographers talk about you know, where you should be positioned, etc., it's always like with wildlife and birds, it's always eye level and that sort of thing. And even when you're shooting kids, you know, eye level. Did you not think that maybe you should have been eye level with this plane?
Yeah, thanks, Quentin. I would have been well, I could have actually been in the water standing there. Yeah, I would have liked to. But also, yet again, if I'm eye level, I might have missed the expanse of the water. You know, there's so many different ways. I've only got one chance to get this right. So you kind of got to pick from experience which will be the best point of view. Ideally, yeah. Can you imagine if I was actually bobbing up and down in the water there?
Yes, sunset in the background, the spray of the water behind the plane. Oh man, next time.
You know what? I'm actually going to note that, and we will go do that. So thanks, Quentin. I will. Next time I'm in Botswana and everybody's in place, we will be doing that. And then there we go, something a little bit different as well. I like to try and chop and change. I like to give the client something different that they haven't always got, because sometimes they've got the same sort of photographs from the same side doing the same thing. So I do like trying to mix and match and get the guys to do something. Once again, all credit to these guys, to the pilots, not to me. As I said, I'm pushing a little black button. But these are the guys that actually make it happen, because I'm asking these guys to do things that they are totally not comfortable with. Remember, when we fly, US pilots get taught to fly away from each other. Here, for air to air, I'm asking you to fly here next to me, in literally 2-3 meters away from me. That's where I'm asking you to be. So pilots don't like that. They like to be far away from each other. And this is all shot off a 24-105mm lens. I'm not shooting off a zoom lens. I'm not shooting off a 100-400 or 72-200. This is all 24-105.
Yeah, that black plane looks a little close on a 24.
Yeah, he's sitting right there. He is sitting right in my door. And I'll discuss some of the logistics when I get to those pics towards the end of the presentation. Once again, very unique aircraft. This is I do shoot not only civilian aircraft, I do shoot military aircraft. Not all the military stuff or the Air Force stuff I can share with you. I've had to sign non-disclosures that I'm not allowed to share some of the stuff due to the sensitivity of it. But every now and again, I can get to photograph some military or some Air Force or military spec aircraft. And this was one such case. It's a Diamond aircraft. You'll notice at the back, there's a little bit of a hump. It's all part of its radar and telemetry equipment. At the pod, there was a big camera on the nose pod that they had removed for the flight. And of course, I said to you in the beginning, I don't necessarily like shooting up into the sky. But when I get a bit of cloud to complement it, and the colors work and the background works, oh man, actually, even I look at it and go, sure, that is nice.
That is very, very nice. Love it.
But yeah, colors pop, everything just pops, and it all just works. And there's no polarizer on the lens. I do not put anything on front of that lens. There's no UV filter on that. I rely solely on the pure quality and the optics of the 24 of the Canon lens that I use. And I've not disappointed yet. There we go, another one in your face. He's obviously putting that nose right up into my spot. Okay, bit of a nostalgia there. Three very historic aircraft over there. Rare opportunity to have all three of them in there at the same time. Right, let's just quickly go through what actually happens behind the scenes. So that's it. That's me being dressed in a monkey chain. And you can see it's not the most comfortable thing, especially when you've got a helicopter pilot, Air Force helicopter pilot dressing this in you. But that's the monkey chain. That's the thing that attaches me to the seat of the aircraft. Do I wear it all the time? Yes, because I'm live, I'm going to nod my head, but actually not all the time. But it's yes. So that's the monkey chain. That's supposed to keep me in there. So if I do fall out, well, part of my briefing is, if I do fall, I tell the pilot, push this button, turn that, and then please give the card, hand it in so somebody can at least process the images afterwards.
I thought you just keep going sort of in the tuck position and wait for him to sort of do a dive and pick you up on the way down, and you land straight in the cockpit.
I haven't tried that. Look, I've been asked many times to go parachute jumping. Never, ever. Here's a picture of me in the Harvard, and that thing strapped to my back end is a parachute. That's not me, I don't think.
No, it's me, sorry.
So I said to the guy, I said to me, I don't even know how to use this parachute, so what's the point? Anyway, I had to wear a damn parachute. Here we go. That's the jet that the 39 that I flew for the air shoot. So yes, sitting in there, you can see that cockpit, all those canopy, all those reflections. It is very challenging when you're photographing through that canopy. The canopy is also distorted. It's scratched. There's a bit of dirt on it. So that adds to the challenges of the air shoot. I have to compensate for that. I have to make sure I don't get any of those things in my way or in the shoot. So yes, it all adds to the planning. Okay, so this is what I am. This is a Baron 55. It's a twin-engine aircraft. That's, believe it or not, where it says ZS, that is the baggage compartment. So that door, the baggage compartment is taken off, and I go crawl in there. And I end up lying on my stomach for the 40 minutes that I'm in the air. And I'm not a happy chap because I'm quite tall, and it's quite uncomfortable in there. But that's what I shoot from. In one aircraft, there's a Baron 58. Now, the nice thing about the Baron 58 is that it's a dual door system, which is nice. I actually sit behind the closed door, and I use that, and I shoot through the one side over there, which is a very comfortable aircraft to shoot from. So that is the Rolls Royce for air-to-air photography. And then thanks to Flippy Van Eminis from Aviation Central, he took this picture of me, photograph. I'm in the helicopter with a TV crew, and we're busy photographing another aircraft water skiing. So that's just kind of what it's like, or what it seems to be from my side. And that, in a very broad nutshell, is my addiction. So thank you. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't rush through that too much, and I hope I piqued everybody's interest and took you on a bit of a journey into my aviation world.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I've got a couple of questions from myself while the other guys ask their questions. So you mentioned early on about the briefings, etc. Do you obviously plan ahead with regards composition, etc.? So the one plane that was over the water, you knew you kind of wanted to get a 3/4 top with the spray going behind it, etc. Do you obviously plan and make sure that everyone's on board with that, as well as communicate with the radio while you're flying?
Definitely. So what it is, before we take off, we've got a clear plan of action. And then part of that plan of action is what happens if there's an emergency, if we do need to, if there's a problem. So we do discuss the safety, we do discuss emergency drills. What should happen if something happened to us in our aircraft, or if something happened to the subject aircraft. So yes, beforehand, as I said, I check with the client what they want. And they'll say, this is what we would like to get. And I'll go, yes or no, it's going to be a problem. And once we've decided how we're going to do it, now it's very difficult because I can't go place these things on the ground and say, look, this is where I want to be. I have to kind of, as in our heads, we've all discussed what we want to do. We've discussed where we're going to be. We've looked at the time of day. We've looked at where the sun is. And we go out and do the shoot. And then, of course, we're moving. So I can't stop them in that precise moment. So we have discussed what needs to be done. We have discussed the effect and what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a cover photograph, if I'm looking for a double page spread, all depends what I'm looking for, also determines how we go about doing this. And yes, we want that effect, and that's how we're going to get it over there like this over here. Now, this particular shot, that just wasn't planned. We were up in the air in the helicopter, and Nigel here in his extra was busy with his sequence, and we were hovering quite high, around about 9,000 feet. And we chatted to him on the radio and said, would you mind if we just come in a little bit closer from above you? We're at this height, don't exceed that. And I got a whole lot of photographs of him from above. And that's something totally different, because normally when you do an air show sequence, you're normally on the ground photographing sort of like the same level or going up into the sky. Here I'm shooting down on him doing a sequence. So that wasn't planned. That was just, oh, hold on, I'm seeing something, let's go capture it. But 99.9% of everything is planned at the right time. Yes, I can't plan when the sun's going to set. But while we in the air orbiting, or while I'm taking other pictures, I am watching what the sun's doing in this particular case. And as it positions, we then said, okay, once you finish that sequence, come in from, as we look at it, from the left to the right with a gentle pitch up. And that's what we get. So it does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of planning. And also, these pilots are highly experienced, highly skilled guys. These are all ex-Air Force pilots. They are all highly trained pilots. They're all current airline pilots. You know, so it's not me flying this aircraft because I've only got a couple of hours. These are highly experienced guys that actually go out there and get this done.
Fantastic. So Robin Rolf Wood wants to know how you broke into this line of photography.
Okay, so I'm a passionate aviator. My passion has always been, I'm an aviation freak. I do fly aircraft myself. And a very long story short, way back when I was in school, my late mom said to me, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, no, well, I actually want to go fly. I want to get my pilot's license. So she assisted in me getting my license. And I said to my mom, oh, by the way, with a pilot's license, you need this rating, you need this, that, and the other. And she said to me, go like that. So of course I went like that. She said, oh, look, your hands work, go find work. So I started off working in a I was the late sales assistant. Even though I'm not dead, because here you can see me talking to you, but I was called the late sales assistant, and my job was cleaning the photographic machines, those photo finishing machines. And I wasn't allowed to engage with the staff or the customers. I had to go in there and scrub. And of course, that sparked my interest in the photographic side of things. So I actually started my photographic career developing photographs in the darkroom side of things. And then I started doing the odd photo shoots here and there. And I was a bit of a jack of all trades. And eventually, after a whole lot of years of doing that, I thought, that's it. My passion is aviation. I'm going to just specialize in aviation photography. And it was easy for me because I have come out of an aviation background, or I am involved in aviation, and also working at it as a photojournalist for all the top aviation magazines. I built up a relationship with all the pilots, all the guys that do this, and also the clients, and that's how I've got involved in it.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So Anton Krohn, you pretty much answers his question there as well. Anton's got another one though. What were the three planes with the yellow tiger moth?
So it was the Oyster. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll here, so excuse me while I sit and fiddle through it. It was the tiger moth, the chipmunk, and the Oyster. I'll find it now for you. There we go, those ones. So the chipmunk is the silver one right at the back, Oyster in the middle, and then the chipmunk, not the chipmunk, the tiger moth in the front.
Is that tiger moth based at Rand Airport?
All three of these aircraft are currently based at Springs Airfield. They form part of the flying collection. Amazing group of aircraft. If you've got something to do, go out to Brakpan and go have a look, walk around the airfield. Some beautiful aircraft there, old stuff.
And then I've got another question relating to shooting through canopies, etc. And I know it's not the same thing, but when I fly to Durban, Cape Town, whatever, I'm trying to take shots out of the window, and there's always some sort of scratch, distortion, whatever on that glass. How do you work around the distortion, etc., that's on those canopies? Because that one with you with the jet looked like there was quite a lot of scratches and things like that would get in the way.
Yes, it is a huge challenge because these aircraft are not brand new, and they perspex, or technically they're not perspex, but it's not glass, it's a plastic. It's actually don't know, forget, sorry, how embarrassing. But yeah, they do get scratched through the air, through the bits and dust and molecule. So how to avoid that is
it plexiglass?
It is. You know what? I actually don't.
Okay, let's have it in the comments. Whoever knows what it is, put it in the comments.
Yeah. Let me not go shoot myself in the foot here or say something that's incorrect, because the guys are going to slaughter me. But what I do, I use the reflection, or I use the sun to get rid of those reflections. It's like the same thing. Basic effect with polarization is that little finger, you put your finger up to the sun, you go like that, and that's the area of polarization. It's the same sort of thing there. Wherever the glare is, I try and use the glare, or I minimize the glare to get the best reflections. Like if you wear glasses and you've got a dirty glass, and if you're looking into the shadow, you don't see the reflection or the smudge or the dirt on your glass. But as soon as you look into the sun, you see all the little cracks and the lines and all the dirt. So the same thing here. I'm trying to avoid that by positioning us in the right place. And that sometimes is not easy, because I've got the sun where it shouldn't be, and I've got the aircraft where it needs to be, or vice versa. So yes, that's also got a lot to do with the time of day that we actually go do that, because I do consider where the sun rises and sets and what the sun's going to do at that particular time of day where we are. So I do like cloud cover. If the sun's obscured by a bit of cloud, I love it. I just get a beautiful even lighting across the entire aircraft, and I don't get any reflections. I don't think I've got an aircraft that clearly shows reflections. Oh yes, you might. Sorry, if I look at that, not as much, but sometimes you'll get a reflection coming off the glass, the cockpit glass there. So I am very aware of that, and that I will not give through to the client. But sometimes it works well. It depends. If you want to put an artistic sort of photograph, it does work, definitely.
Absolutely. So another question from Carl Stander. What shutter speed do you use to get the prop blurring but the plane still sharp, especially when the plane is moving towards you?
Okay, just bear in mind, I am traveling at more or less the same speed in fact, we are traveling at the same speed. It's like two cars driving down the highway. You're both traveling 120, you're going to be sitting next to each other. I can be ahead of you or like that. We're still going to have the same speed. So yes, we are matching speeds, or similar, or as close as possible. I'm shooting 60th of a second and handheld. So I shoot shutter priority, ISO either 100, or I shoot on low, which is ISO 50. And I shoot anything from 60th, depending on how many blades there are on the aircraft. That prop disc technically is called solidity. So I need to know what aircraft it is. I need to know what sort of speed or how they can change the RPM on the prop. And based on that, and of course, all the years of experience, I know that aircraft, I will be able to shoot comfortably at 50th of a second or 60th of a second. Yeah, except if I'm bouncing around those skies, which does happen. This all looks nice and calm, but some days you do bounce around those skies and it's just very turbulent out there. I do have to adjust my shutter speed accordingly, but 90% of all the work, 60th of a second or below.
Okay, so there aren't any more questions at the moment, but I've got one which I'm surprised that no one has asked yet. How many sick bags have you used over the course of your career?
For me, myself, or for other people?
No, well, let's start off with you. How many sick bags have you used, and have you ever had to rely on your pocket?
No, not for aviation terms. I've had to rely on my pocket because of some alcohol-induced stupidity. But no, I'm very fortunate. I suppose that's just part of what I do. I love being in the air. This lockdown is really hurting me because my job is aviation. So now I'm stuck I'm stuck behind a desk, flying a desk. And of course, the entire aviation industry has come to a grinding halt. So yeah, I'm a bit screwed. No, I've never been sick in an aircraft, touch wood. Yes, I've had lots of people being sick around me. For those as I said, I've had a few souls that have decided they would like to come with. So once they've overcome the idea, because when we get to the aircraft, then they see the door. There's no door in the aircraft. Then they look, there's no seat. Then they look at the monkey chain and they kind of, I can see they're starting to back out. But those are the ones that put on the face and actually suck it up. Yes, there have been moments where they've kind of hurled into the bag. But no, one very quick story. I don't know how much time we got.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Cool. One very quick story. I was commissioned to do a shoot, and I won't mention any particular names. It was around Cape Town. It was on a military it was an Air Force aircraft. Came all the way down from Spain. Hint, hint, what type of aircraft or who it was. And they brought their official photographer with them. Got to Cape Town, met up with the guy. The guy says to me, geez, he's never ever done air-to-air photography. I'm going, okay, this is going to be fun.
Interesting.
So, exactly. And we flew around the Cape of Storms. And it's called the Cape of Storms for a reason. And that particular sortie took us just under 2 hours. So this poor fella we were shooting out of a caravan, a Cessna caravan. I don't have a photograph of one, sorry. It was a VIP configured caravan, which means that right at the back of the caravan, there is actually a seat, a toilet seat. But you can sit on it as a passenger as well. So this poor fella, now he obviously being the prime photographer, he got the prime spot. He was sitting there with the door wide open. He had nothing in his way. I was sitting on the back, the second last row, on my knees, facing out of the aircraft like that, which I know it was on my photo shoot. But this poor fella hurled his heart out for 2 hours. He got not one photograph. And yeah, it was quite funny because when he landed, I actually said to him, okay, my friend, we're going to land in 5 minutes. And yeah, he was as white as a sheet. And he not only filled a bag or two, it was quite rough. So yes, things do happen.
Fantastic. All right, so we haven't got any other comments there. So I think what we can do is we can wrap it up. I just wanted to say a very big thank you to you. Fantastic images there. I loved it. I hope that the people watching this have got a bit of inspiration, etc. Maybe they'll tie a rope to one of the rafters in the roof and spin around, see if they can handle this off the ground thing, and maybe they'll sign up or volunteer to go with you one of these days and see if we can get a couple more people up there. So really, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Quentin, one thing I didn't show you was any of the aerobatic air-to-air shoots. Now that entails going upside down. That entails going vertical. That's pulling G's. So yes, there are moments like that. I haven't showed any of those sort of pictures, but it does happen. And on that, thanks, Quentin. I really appreciate the opportunity. I hope I could share some of my geekness to everybody out there. And I know it's difficult to go do this sort of photography in your living room under lockdown, but hopefully that just got you out the bits and just made you forget about the four walls closing in on you. But thank you for the opportunity.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. You were a rock star. And if there are comments on, on the group, you can just have a look there and answer them accordingly. So again, thank you very much. You're a rock star. Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks, Quentin.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.